sorry about that, guys. So we will start here. We'll give a couple minutes more. And we're going to get on. We'll begin.
Welcome to the Bee Museum, folks.
All right, so we'll get started here. My name is Tanner. I'm an educator here at the Being Life Science Museum. And welcome to our Life Science Live Facebook event. So we're going to be talking today about adaptations. Sorry, I can't read it backward. I can't figure out how to flip the mirror image there. So what is an adaptation, right? It's a certain characteristic, a certain behavior or physical trait an animal has that helps it survive. For example, we'll look at some good examples here in terms of beaks, bird beaks. So we can see here all the different types of beaks, ducks, some grosbeak, you have penguins. See how their beaks are different.
Are you a man?
The American kestrel. So our owl friend is talking here, back in the background. Roadrunner. They all have different beaks that allow them, help them survive. The kestrel, right? They are a type of raptor. They eat bugs. They eat other small birds, maybe some small mammals. Penguins eat fish. So you see their beak is sharp and pointed. Woodpeckers. Oh, actually, never mind. Sorry. For example, grosbeak, they eat nuts and seeds. Ducks eat things like grasses. Right, so you can see all their beaks are different that help them eat different things, help them survive. So there are a lot of cool adaptations out in the natural world, both plants and animals have. And we're going to talk a little bit about why those adaptations come up. And that's through a process here in our evolutions exhibit. It explains it really well. One of these big ways these traits come up is through natural selection. So what happens in nature is nature, you can say, presents a problem. Right? We call these problems selection pressures. For example, if you have a population of mice, the problem that might come up is there are things that want to eat them, right? And they need to hide because of that. Right? And so these problems are only going to let you can kind of see them as filters, right? So a filter is only going to let certain things through. So these selection pressures, these problems that happen in nature, that these animals and plants encounter, are only going to let certain traits through. So these pocket mice, they have different colors. Some are lighter, some are darker. And because they need to hide from predators, the lighter mice are going to survive because the dirt is a lighter color. Right? And there's going to be less dark ones. But when something changes, like if the ground becomes darker, in this certain area, volcanic activity brought lava rocks, created lava rock formations, and there were a lot of darker rocks. So because of that, a new kind of changes the situation. And in these darker areas, where there's dark rocks, the darker mice start to survive. So this trait, the darker color, is selected for, is what gets passed on. Right, so there are more darker mice in these darker areas, And with places where there's still that lighter colored dirt, there are more lighter mice. And over time, there are more and more lighter mice in these areas and probably less and less darker mice. Right? So that's how a trait gets selected for. And over long periods of time, these traits become even more maybe exaggerated, or there's more of that thing. Yeah, sorry about the post text being backward. I don't know how to flip the screen. But really just focus on the pictures here. The pictures do a pretty good job. So with that, we'll look at some more cool adaptations, right? So like I was saying, certain traits get selected for and passed on, and in response to these problems that happen, right? So something really cool that happens is something called Convergent Evolution. So we see here, you can skip there, and I'll show some specimens here that we have. A trait such as wings, right? Wings help with getting around faster. Maybe they were developed in order to be a quick way to escape predators, or maybe hawks. Those wings may be developed so they could catch food easier, or it's easier. You're safe. Your eggs are safer if they're up in a tree or on a cliff. So that trait might have been selected for because it helps them keep their eggs safe.
Come on in.
So it's a good trait, right? Wings, good way to get around. So bats, this is a Mexican free-tailed bat. They have wings. Birds have developed wings, like this seagull. One second here. There we go. Perfect. Figured it out. Someone left a comment. That helped. Okay. Sweet. So now it's flipped. And bugs, like butterflies, have developed wings. But the thing is that all of these, they have very different, they're not very closely related, right? Birds, bats are mammals, and we have bugs. They have very distant connections in terms of their ancestry, right? So they have developed a common trait, common adaptation, despite having not being very closely related. So we can learn a lot from these traits that animals have developed. Right? There are a lot of really cool adaptations that have been selected for over a long periods of time. For example, and we've learned a lot from even copying these adaptations, right, to help solve our problems. For example, you take a robot arm, right? If you have a robot, it has a joint, it can move up and down, maybe one way. It can only do one thing. It doesn't adapt very well to different tasks, and it can be pretty heavy. It can break things really easily. So what if you can make a robot arm that was like an octopus arm? He's a little beaten up here, but here's an octopus we have. They have 8 tentacles that can move in all sorts of directions. They don't really have joints like we have. You can really only move this part of your arm like this, although we have a lot of joints, right? They can move their tentacles in all sorts of directions. They have cool, and you can call them suction cups on the bottom to help them grab onto things. So what if you could make a robot arm like that? You could do all sorts of things. And that's what a lot of people have done. They started to make, I'll move back a little bit, they started to make robot arms that are like the tentacles of an octopus. And if you Google that, you can see some cool examples. Another cool thing, a cool adaptation, cool trait, is the nostrils of certain birds of prey. You see it closely here. See that little, almost like a dot? And this is a prairie falcon. The little dot in his nostril. It's called a tubercle. It's part of his nostril, right? It's part of his beak. And what that does, it helps them breathe when they're flying super fast. Because hawks and falcons, to catch their food, most times they'll dive at really, really high speeds. And when you're going that fast, it's kind of hard to breathe. Makes it difficult to breathe. So what that little tubercle does, that little bone, is it makes it so they can breathe easier when they're going really, really fast. Right? And so what do we have that goes really fast in the air? We have jets. Jets go super fast. And we've even, in designing the jets, we've even copied that. And in the engines, we put something that looks kind of like that. It works in the same way. So we've learned from hawks and falcons to help us. So there are a lot of, like I was saying, there are a lot of different animals. We have a huge variety of species of plants and animals. And they've all developed in different ways over long periods of time and have different traits and adaptations that help them survive in response to problems that encounters things like colder weather or predators trying to eat them. So we can learn a lot from them. I just want to end. I'll show you some really, I think, some cool adaptations. One that I think looks really cool. And just think about, why do you think that is? So if you look, this a sheep skull, if you look in the nasal cavity, its nose would be right here. See all those spirals? It's pretty cool looking, I think. You know, why do you think that it's shaped like that? How do you think that helps it? You know, what made the inside of the nostril shaped like that? What does it do? And why would it, you know, whatever it helps it with, why would it want to have that? Maybe if somehow that helps it smell better, why would it want to smell better? How would that help it? Another cool thing I think is really pretty as well, the nautilus shell. Nautilus shell has a really cool spiral shape, like a lot of different seashells have. Show another one cut in a different way. This one has been cut this way. This is a really cool spiral shape and all these different chambers. So how do you guys think that would help it? I think about how that would help it survive. And also what we can learn from that. So thank you guys very much for coming. If you have any, or for watching, if you have any questions, you can post them in the comments, and some of us educators can help answer them. And once again, thank you for watching. Have a good day.